Did you know that there are over 1 million family and friend caregivers across Alberta? It's a staggering number, and behind every one of those caregivers is a powerful story. These are people caring for parents, partners, children, friends, neighbors, and community members, often without recognition and sometimes without support. I'm Jonna Lowther, and you're listening to Behind the Care. This podcast is dedicated to caregivers, the unsung heroes who show up day after day with compassion, resilience, and heart. Together, we'll explore the challenges they face, the moments that keep them going, and the strength it takes to care for someone else while trying to care for yourself too. Whether you're a caregiver or someone who wants to better understand what caregivers go through, you're in the right place. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And now let's get straight into it. Hi, Anna-Lisa.
Hello, Jonna.
Thank you for joining Behind the Care, Caregivers Alberta's podcast all about caregiver voice. And you are one of those caregiver voices today.
Thanks, Jonna. It's such an honor and joy to be here with you. Kind of surreal.
Right? I think
Yes.
about, how many years ago that you and I met. Just, yeah. It's been a journey.
It
A
sure
lovely
has.
journey.
Yes. Thanks for being such an integral part of it and the team at Caregivers.
Well, for background context, I'll share with our audience listening today that Anna-Lisa is a caregiver, and that's how she originally came to our organization. And she loved us so much, she just couldn't, let us go out of her life. And she is an ambassador and a volunteer with our organization as well now, in the last few years, and facilitates one of our very important caregiver education programs called Compass for the Caregiver. So I'll just share that context. We're not here to talk about that piece of your relationship with us necessarily today, but more really about your personal experience and that journey of being a caregiver. So just, briefly fill in our audience of, what were those caregiving relationships? Who was your care recipient?
Yes. Okay. Well, first, I'm joining you from Banff, Alberta, which is not my hometown, but I've been living in Banff for the past 18 years. I was born in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the very proud daughter of my parents, Connie and Tony, Italian immigrants who made the Sioux their home. I was born and raised there. And my path, my vocation, my call took me into Southern Ontario and then Banff. But the one thing that I know for certain is that I was born into love for love. And
Wow.
My parents are the reason that caregiving came into my life, caring for others in a different way, whether it was my 3 younger siblings, for example, caring or being that person in what I would call positions of sacred trust and responsibility as the eldest of 4 kids, then babysitting in the neighborhood, taking me into also then coaching and running sports camp, my career in teaching and working with the immigrant community. It all really stemmed from being cared for from the inside out by my parents and feeling that gift was something instilled in me that I wanted to share. I was excited and honored to share in any way. And so seeing myself as a caregiver, in the sense we're speaking now, really shifted when really I was introduced to caregivers in 2022. Prior to that, starting in about 2012, my dad's health decline, something we never expected. He was so healthy and vibrant in every sense of the word. He had a misdiagnosis, which eventually led to a diagnosis of Parkinson's. And so that decline that journey was, it was a marathon and it was an unexpected detour from the path. My dad had always been this consummate provider and, like I said, very much the man in the family and the community. So my mom had stepped into a caregiving role, but her own mental health condition deteriorated with the weight of caregiving. and other kind of things happening in her own life that just accelerated her own decline. And I think dementia had set in.
Yeah.
And so I was a long distance caregiver without even realizing it. I moved to Banff in 2008. So we've been here 18 years. Through that time period, and most significantly from 2019 till my dad's death in 2021, I was just going back and forth. There were 7 hospitalizations. I was the one, right? That's a role I naturally stepped into, but given other circumstances with my 3 other siblings, all in Ontario, but not all in Sault Ste. Marie, that was where I stepped in. And so it was just going back and forth. And when you're involved with the hospital, the public health system, you have to be a voice, even though we are invisible in so many ways, but we need part of the conversation, especially advocacy. And that was a big part of just my life. But for my parents, I needed to advocate so that their needs were clearly expressed, as well as my own, and in providing the most dignified, compassionate care through what I saw as a sacred transition. Sacred transition. And I vowed that I would companion my parents in any way I could through that. And so when my dad took flight, I say in 2021, when his earthly mission was complete, I knew that my mom needed to be physically closer to me. And so that just kind of, at one point, the impetus, the message, the sign came deep within to bring your mom west. And that's what, because when that voice speaks for me,
you follow, right?
I do it. It's against all human odds.
Yes.
To me, nothing's impossible.
I love 2 things that you just said in that story you shared. And thank you for sharing. That's very personal, and I appreciate you sharing that with our audience. You talked about companioning your parents along. So I'll circle back to that in a second. But the first thing you said, did you say you were born into the caregiving space with them, but that they loved you from the inside out? Yeah. What a lovely expression.
I was born into love for love.
Yeah.
I was born 9 months to the day after my parents were married.
Oh, yeah.
I never, they came as immigrants. You don't come with a lot, right? You come with this hope that you are going to provide a better life for your children.
Yes.
They came post World War II. My dad's parents didn't even come with him from Italy.
Right.
But I learned love and the power of love, and the belief that when you believe in someone or something from here, anything's possible. And so I saw with my dad and my grandparents in Italy or other parts of the world, that other parts of Canada, that love, they didn't have to be physically present for it to be felt. It was beautiful. And I learned my parents, although there were lots of sacrifices involved, they had 4 kids, 3 of us, 18 months apart each. And then my youngest brother was born 13 years after me. I call him the king. But never did we feel a burden. I always felt loved, and that my parents fervently believed in me.
Yeah, that was a lovely expression, love from the inside out. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to share that with others. It's lovely.
Well, you know what? It's my parents. And to add to that, Jonna, I want you to know that they are so grateful that you've crossed my path. I call people like you my trail angels. You just kind of appear at different times. Like my husband, who appeared magically in 2003. And the next thing I know, I'm coming to Banff in 2004 for the first time in my 30-some years and making a decision to move west.
What
leaving a
beautiful labels you put on people. I'm a trail angel now too. What a
yes,
great title to have attached to my name.
you totally are. And that has helped me so much in my caregiving journey because I needed to and wanted to see the people who were coming into
Yeah.
my life as just that.
So
And yeah. Mhm.
let's talk about that. What your caregiving journey specifically? What has that role taught you about yourself or about life in general?
Oh, wow.
I
Well,
mean, that's probably hard to narrow down to a single answer, but like, what's your most
yeah,
immediate like answer to that?
absolutely. To, never give up on anyone or anything you believe in. Most of all, don't give up on yourself, that there's a beautiful light within each and every one of us, that we have been created we're sacred. Each and every life is sacred. Those values were planted in me from a young age by my parents. And I am so blessed that the paths I was led to helped to cultivate those beliefs. And when you follow your heart, miracles happen. Like the miracle of us being here together through
That's lovely.
through what have been some really, what I would say, losses in my life, in every part of my life that weren't just related to death.
Yeah.
And to be able to hold this space together with you and feel that my heart is softened again, that I don't have to fight anyone or anything to prove anything, is so liberating, so beautiful. And I wish that for everyone and for caregivers who are experiencing hard times, loss, just not to lose sight of how important it is to continue to nurture yourself from the inside out.
Well, that leads to the next, great, question I have for you. You are a very spiritual person, and you believe very much in making sure that pot of energy is
Yes,
healthy. So, are there very specific practices that you have that helped you stay resilient when,
yes,
a challenging moment popped up?
yes. And it's funny because I have so many things around me that are reminders of that. So I'm just going to kind of share a couple things, that practices that were instilled that just kind of came up naturally. So, for example, I remember as a child, my parents were devout Catholics, but there was a broader sense of spirituality instilled in me as well, and just reverence, reverence. And so after supper, oftentimes we'd say what's called the rosary. And there were specific prayers like the Hail Mary, for example. And my mom
Hmm.
and dad had a beautiful devotion to say Mother Mary, Saint Therese. And so when prayers like that, like the Hail Mary, whether I was saying it or singing it, just became part of ways that I would help to comfort, for example, my mom. Okay. Or when my dad in their care homes or in the hospitals, I'd always want to bring some of those symbols, have the rosary beads that they could hold, for example, or the prayer card that they could hold. And not only that, what I really found with my mom, which is just incredible, is that, after I brought her here in 2022, which is a whole other adventure, but a testament to the human spirit. She was in a care home in Calgary, which is about over an hour from my home. She was there for 2.5 years, and I was going back and forth. But my mom was like a little those beautiful. The staff were like little angels, and my mom would, as she would want to get to know who they were, learn about their families, and she would offer a prayer. And so some of them would say things like, Anna-Lisa, your mom is reminding me of some of my childhood prayers, or of how important that is. Your mom, who maybe is forgetting other things, like there was
Right, as
something that
dementia
was
progresses.
still,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they'd see us singing. we would sing songs, we would step outside, and my mom would start with some of these familiar hymns like, How Great is Our God? She would look around at nature. And so that reverence for nature, for stillness, for honoring the creator that were part of my childhood took on even greater meaning for me as a caregiver. I really felt their power.
I would say too, when you talk about your caregiving role, that you bring an air of reverence to that role.
Yeah.
When you talk about, how you honored and that it was an honor to care for your parents,
Yes.
and that relationship. Um,
Yes.
it's
Thank
not
you.
often that people, I don't know that I've ever used that word in describing someone in a caregiving role, but that's certainly how you speak of it.
Ah, I want to thank you for that because that matters to me more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that also allowed me to lean into trust and surrender, that I didn't have to carry the weight by myself. I didn't need to just rely on, say, family,
hmm And that's
or
important because
others. Yes,
caregivers talk about feeling very alone in this
very alone.
role, even when there are other supports on board, like siblings or
Yes,
neighbors, right? But it
yes,
does feel very isolating.
totally. And so for me, I needed to keep that connection here
Hmm
strong. And so it often, I live in the mountains here, Tunnel Mountain, the crooked tree, walking up tunnel to the crooked tree. It's literally a crooked tree, but so much more. Visiting my old friend Tunnel, even conversations that happened on the way with random people fueled me. I felt the backpack I was carrying, the weight of the feelings of guilt. How could I do
hmm
this to my parents? I pour them out of the home my dad built. When we began
hmm
this journey of needing more help, that I couldn't provide or we couldn't provide
From
in home.
afar, right?
Yeah, or even within their home. So even within the Sioux, and then bringing my mom west somewhere she had never been. My mom had never been west,
hmm
so I was releasing these weights as I walked, and nature was another source of that reverence. I had that relationship with the divine that
So
for me is fueled through nature.
So prayer, being in nature, like
Yes,
physically, engaging your senses in nature.
100%.
I hear you talking
Yes,
about. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Song, singing. And I think back to some of my mom had a little tape recorder. And when my youngest brother, he was 13 years younger, she always had little recordings of beautiful hymns that we would, when we put him to bed, because I was doing that. And I loved it. Like I felt really honored to be. I know
Oh
my sister did
gosh,
too.
that brings back memories for me. Yes, we did the same thing. We'd hit
Yeah.
play on the tape recorder and listen to music as we fell asleep.
Yeah. And they were
Lovely.
hymns. So some
Yes.
of these hymns, Be Not Afraid, are what I was singing with my mom, you
Yeah.
know? It was
Yeah.
so beautiful. Other things that I was doing to help nurture that connection, journaling. And my mom was one who often wrote little notes, and I would find her notes all over the place as a child. And even when I was gathering her things, the messages I was finding were so beautiful and reaffirming, little mantras that she would be writing and repeating. And so little quotes, biblical quotes, these three remain: faith, hope, and love, like that,
hmm
the
hmm
serenity prayer that she would have written, or so they just kind of infused the journey. And I'm not going to say it was easy. Anyone who knows me knows that it was not easy. And um, just kind of finding peace among the turmoil in the world around me, and the grounding that I used to have in my in so many areas of my life, kind of for that to be not there anymore, it showed me the power of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the grounding that you can have internally instead of the grounding you have
Yes,
through other people, other environments, other,
yes.
locations, places. Yeah. That's
Even
very,
identities that
mm-hmm.
we attach ourselves to so much, right? To give us maybe a sense of worth and value. Um, the essence of us is truly love.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so able to connect soul to soul when we are stripped of that which kind of keeps us maybe in a state of maybe fear or uncertainty. And that's what being connected to other caregivers has allowed to happen, is that sharing in a place where we can just simply witness each other, hold sacred space. So that has been
Yeah.
such a gift.
And you do that for groups of caregivers now, through our Compass program and through facilitating peer support programs. Has that been an important part of your journey?
Oh, 100%. 100%. When I met you in 2022, I don't think there was a lower point in my life I could ever have been, in terms of I was seeking springboards for my mission, my sacred mission in the world. This was during the COVID years. So my mission had changed, and it had changed through my life, where I've taken different little paths as they became open. But it had changed in a way that I was like, no, I don't understand this. I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand this. How do I navigate a world that makes no more sense? All this needs to be shared in some way. This is the gift God gave me of being in relationship with others and companioning others through what I call
Yeah.
the soulful adventure of their life. So it's happened with young people and young adults in the teaching world. It happened with the immigrant community through settlement services, when I worked with settlement with immigrants, or in hospitality, when I was working with people who are visiting. But it is the soulful adventure of life that also includes, now I'm like, it also includes this other stage where we're in those final chapters, or that final chapter. And that to me is equally as sacred, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I
And
do.
often
Yeah.
overlooked. And so all these other experiences really prepared me for this. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it. Never would I have expected, Jonna, us to be having this kind of a conversation when I received the gift of caregivers just by seeking. I knew God would lead me somewhere. I was led to you at that time. My job wasn't there as I knew it. I had registered for like a coaching program. Part of it was a practicum. And that's when I'm like, wow, look at this Compass program. I need to take this. Maybe I can bring it out and to share it, because
Yeah.
it's a gift. And my parents taught me, when you
We
receive
share
a gift,
gifts.
you share
We
your
share
gift.
gifts. Yeah.
You share
Yeah.
your gift, whatever that looks like. Time. One friend said to me, time, treasure. She had a couple of, and she's right. Time, treasure, or talent. And that's exactly what my parents had instilled in me. But I was like, how do I do this in this world? And so you offered that springboard. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. And I was able to do an in-person in my own community just this past November, December of 2025, 1 year after my mom took flight. My mom died in December of 2024, and I was actually co-facilitating a Compass program during that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the nourishment, it continued and allowed me really to be, it was like a heart massage. That's what I was needing these years of caregiving and of just walking through life as it was, and through the shadow of darkness. that was upon me, my hardened heart was longing to be softened. And
well, I'm grateful that we were able to be a part of that journey back into the light, Anna-Lisa.
thank
That's
you.
an amazing story to share. I'll just sort of wrap us up and close today and say thank you for sharing with our audience today, essentially your soulful adventure of caregiving.
Thank you.
So I appreciate that. And yes, we will talk again, I am sure.
Absolutely. And I want to again thank you on behalf of my parents too, because you can be sure they've been part of this this soulful adventure.
Of course. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Anna-Lisa.
a joy. Thank you.
A big thank you for joining us on Behind the Care today. We hope this episode offered meaningful information and support as you navigate the many ups and downs of the caregiving journey. To stay connected with resources, stories, and support for caregivers across Alberta, be sure to follow us, Caregivers Alberta, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Caregivers Alberta is the province's only nonprofit organization solely focused on supporting unpaid family and friend caregivers. Since 2001, we've been empowering caregivers through both group and one-to-one programs, education opportunities, and community resources. With over 1 million unpaid caregivers in Alberta, we ask, who's caring for the caregivers? At Caregivers Alberta, that's our purpose, to care for and elevate the voice of caregivers so their role remains sustainable, supported, and recognized. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.